Hello students, welcome to Legacy IS Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about an interesting topic, that why the color blue is associated with Bhim Rao Ambedkar and why it also is a symbol of modern day Dalit resistance. For example, whenever you might have seen a protest by the Dalits scheduled caste, you might have seen a blue flags being waved all across. So why particular color of blue has been chosen? Let us try to understand this in more detail. Now, why we are taking this particular topic? The reason is recently Rahul Gandhi and the other members of opposition leaders, they have come to the parliamentary session by adorning a color blue. For example, as you can see from this particular picture, Rahul Gandhi is wearing a blue color t-shirt. So this blue color or the choice of blue color is not random or not arbitrary. The choice was because blue long has been considered as a symbol for the Dalit or Dalit resistance, and it also is associated with the Babasaheb Ambedkar as his politics. Also, the reason why these MPs have turned in blue color was to protest against the alleged insult that the Union Home Minister Amit Shah has hurled or done toward the B R Ambedkar. Now, our topic of discussion is why the color blue. Now, many scholars across the world argue that the Ambedkar or Babasaheb Ambedkar's suit, which he largely used to wear in last 3 to 4 decades of his life, and Babasaheb Ambedkar, for example, he died in the year 1956. So by that time, he already was wearing in public specifically a immaculate three-piece suit, as we can see from this photograph, and as you can see, the color of suit is blue. So basically it is believed that also that not only the color but the suit itself symbolized the fact that Ambedkar had escaped a fate that millions of his Dalit brethren continue to endure in the country. That means the oppression toward Dalit, the rampant poverty that largely was spread in the Dalit community is something that it was not the fate of Babasaheb Ambedkar, especially after he became adult. So this is also something that has been agreed upon by a well-known historian, Ramchandra Guha. Now, R.C. Guha also in this context has written in one of the articles published a long time back that by the canons of tradition and history, this man, obviously referring to Bhim Rao Ambedkar, was not supposed to wear a suit, blue or otherwise. The reason is simple, because as you know that especially during the pre-independence India, the untouchability was very common, and the Babasaheb Ambedkar used to come from the caste which was considered as untouchable. So if we look at the tradition that was being followed in India, obviously it was very, very difficult for him to unshackle himself from the what you can call as the chains that society has put around him simply based on his caste of birth. Now that he did was a consequence of his extraordinary personal achievement, because Ambedkar not only focused on the fighting against oppression, but he also initially focused on educating himself well. And this we can see from the example that he had law degree from the Lincolns, in a PhD from the America, and another one from the England. Not only that, he is also considered as the principal architect of the Constitution of India. And by memorializing him in a suit, the Dalits were celebrating its successful storming of an upper caste settler. So suit was not only something that was attire for Babasaheb Ambedkar, but for him as well as for his millions of followers, it was a very strong symbol of a success a man from the depressed class was able to achieve in those times when it was considered as almost impossible. Now, details about this also has been given by a well-known anthropologist by the name of Emma Tarlow. Now, Emma Tarlow has written a book called as Clothing Matters. And in Clothing Matters, she has said that he actually has put a contrast between the Mahatma Gandhi and the Babasaheb Ambedkar. She said that Mahatma Gandhi used to dress himself as a poor fakir, representing the Harijan, the Dalits as he used to call them. While on the other hand, Babasaheb wear a suit. So both of them were basically representing the Dalits, but the way of representation was contrastingly different. So coming from the Harijan background and having felt the full weight of social prejudice, he needed to break with the tradition and had no nostalgia for the Desi past, which summed up centuries of poverty and degradation. And that is why the symbol he chose was very different, almost we can say on the opposite spectrum of the symbol that Mahatma Gandhi had chosen. So significance of the blue color. Now why blue color? Now there are various interpretation, various different viewpoints. So let us try to understand each of them one by one. Now many scholars argue that the reason why Babasaheb chose the blue color was simply because it was a contemporary fashion trend in the West, and Babasaheb Ambedkar had already spent of several of his life's decades in these countries, especially in 1910s and 1920s. So this might have influenced him, and that is why he had chosen this blue color. So this was the time when the blue blazer rose to popularity among the civilians. And interestingly, to give you a fact, it is during this time the term navy blue basically was popularized, that we use today in our daily life to represent a particular kind of color. So blue was already associated early with the naval officers, and now it was being popularized among the civilians of these countries as well. So that is one reason why he might have chosen this color. Other reason is because of the ideology or idea that the blue represents, because blue is also the color of the sky, and the sky denotes equality, because everyone under the sky is same. So there is no dominance under the sky, everyone is equal. And as Babasaheb Ambedkar was fighting for the Dalit rights, equality for the Dalit, he might have chosen this symbol. Now, another scholar, Valerian Rodriguez, he has written a book called as Ambedkar's Philosophy. So here he has written that folk lore around the world denoted a very specific form of struggle, that was a struggle for equality in an unequal hierarchical world, and the blue is a symbol of that. Now, many scholars also argue that since Babasaheb Ambedkar was against the caste system of Hinduism, and he thought that we cannot reform it, and that is why he accepted the Buddhism as his faith. And not only that, he also has motivated many of his followers to accept Buddhism. And in Buddhism, a prominent color is blue. For example, in many South Asian countries, you will see the statue of Buddha in the blue attire. So because of this, it symbolizes the spirit of universal compassion for all being, which is an important concept in Buddhism. So this also might have influenced him to accept the color or use the color blue. And last viewpoint is the blue is representation of the working class, of which interest Babasaheb Ambedkar have always talked about, because working class, especially those performing manual labors, and that is why today the term that we use called as blue collar worker. So this might also have influenced him to choose the color blue. And the example of this we can see, the effect of this we can see, because the scholarship program of Babasaheb Ambedkar, the politics that he had used, and also the parties that he have formed, like Scheduled Caste Federation, specifically spoke to this section of society. And while talking about this section, he has clearly established the conflict between the two classes, that is the proletariats representing the working class, and the capitalists largely representing the class which owns most of the economic resources. So these are the ideas which has been given by many scholars about the color blue that is chosen as a symbol of Dalit resistance. Now, it does not mean that always it was a symbol of Dalit agenda. For example, many Dalit movements in the past, we can take example of Adhara movement that took place in the Punjab in 1920s, 1930s. The color that was chosen to represent their symbol was not blue, but it was deep red. Similarly, other major proponent of the Dalit movement was Jyotiba Phule from Maharashtra. So his movement and his followers have basically what you can call as chose the color red because of the red color turban that he always used to wear. So for Babasaheb Ambedkar, it was crucial to pick such color that did not have any overt political association. And that is why when he chose the color for the flag of the Scheduled Caste Federation, All India Scheduled Caste Federation, the party he established to fight for the Dalit interest, he chose a symbol, a color that was representation of an autonomous Dalit political agenda, different from any other political agenda prevailing at those times. And many scholars argue that it is because of this reason he wanted to paint a contrast with the red color symbol largely taken by the communists, the Hindus who were largely adorning the saffron color, the green color representative of Muslim, blue for him represented what we can call as a distinct vision of where the nation should head true from the perspective of him as well as from the perspective of Dalits. So apart from the interest of communist Hindus, Muslims, they choose the blue color to represent uniquely and distinctly the interests of Dalit. And not only during his time, but even after his death in the post-independence India, many of the politicians have taken hint from his idea. For example, we can take Kasiram, who was a prominent politician and also the founder of Bahujan Samaj Party. Now, if you look at the symbol of present day Bahujan Samaj Party, it has a symbol of elephant and the color of the flag is blue. So many people believe that basically he also has drew heavily from the iconography of Republican Party of India. Now I told you Babasaheb Ambedkar has established Scheduled Caste Federation, and then its successor in the post-independence India was RPI, Republican Party of India. As you can see, the flag color is blue as well. So from here he has drawn, and that is why he has chosen the color blue for BSP. So it has only become stronger, the color blue associated with Dalit movement with time, and the present day preeminence of the color blue in the Dalit context is nothing but a product of association with Babasaheb Ambedkar. At least for this, we did not have any kind of doubt or dispute. So that is all for this particular video. I hope you got the gist that why Dalit is represented, the Dalit movement is represented by color blue, and how it relates to the Babasaheb Ambedkar. Thank you very much.